back to Grand Retro Circus. After a long hiatus, because my computer is going through technical difficulties, I decided I wanted to do another list. Today's list has to do with a certain article I read by the COO of EA coming out and basically saying, are gamers resistant to change? And I wanted to ask that question, and I want to answer that question of my own beliefs. Let me read a few points that I've gotten from the article, and let's see what we have here. Okay, my first point is that he says is, I think the challenge sometimes is that the growth of gaming. There's a core that doesn't quite feel comfortable with that. Mr. Moore says, your readers, your industry, and in particular, I don't get frustrated, but I scratch my head at the times and I say, look, these are different times, and times usually invoke different business models, different consumers come in. They've got different expectations, and we can either ignore them or embrace them. And at EA, we've chosen to embrace them. To the best of my ability, let me just go on. Let me just go out what basically this is saying. He's basically saying that the practices of EA are, we've given them flack because we're resistant to the change that they're basically giving us, and the only reason why we're not agreeing with the business practices is because we don't understand them, or we just don't like the changes that they're giving to us in these games. That's really no offense to Peter Moore, and no offense to anybody at EA. I'm not gonna completely say that I hate EA. They do make very good games. It's just that again, their business practices that aren't really consumer friendly. That's the big problem. And let me just say this: gamers, we aren't resistant to change. Some of us are. I'm going to say that right now. Keep that in mind. Some of us are resistant to change, some of us aren't. I mean, take any game franchise. Just look through the comments, look through the forums. At any point in change in that game, people flip the fuck out. For example, I'm getting into MMOs lately, and my god, whenever a new patch comes, it's like opening up the gates of hell for some people. Some people don't like it. Maybe it's a new economy change. Maybe it's changing nerfing some weapon, or maybe it's making it to where the guilds or something are easy to use. Maybe it's making some boss. Maybe it's changing just something in the game to make it more user friendly. People just flip the fuck out. Even if it's for the good, people just flip out. Is that to say that some people overdo it? Yes. I'm not going to completely doubt that. I am not. But here's another point he makes. There's a core controversial statement coming from me. Sadly, that just doesn't like that. Because it's different. It's disruptive. It's not the way it used to be. He's basically saying, as I said, we're resistant to change because it's not what most of us grew up with in the 90s or 80s or maybe the early 2000s of gaming, where DLC was kind of taking off, but it wasn't just this big idea for people to farm money off of us. He's basically saying that we're resistant to all this change EA's giving us because we didn't grow up with it. We're not used to EA's business practices. Let me say this to you, Mr. Moore. I almost called him Michael Moore. I'm sorry about that, people. Let me say this to you, Peter Moore. The problem isn't that we don't like change. The problem isn't that I'm gonna play a game and whenever there's a new update, I'm gonna flip out because I don't want new updates. I want my game to stay the same. The problem is that the changes you're giving us and have constantly given us, they aren't the changes that we want. They aren't the changes that sometimes we need. I mean, you tried your hand at microtransactions, and we end up something like, I think there's that game called Dungeon Keeper. I'm not sure. You giving us DLC, and you're giving it, and what do we get after that? Battlefield 4, a game that still to this day isn't that optimized. Playable, yes. somewhat, but you're still. We don't want premium packages. We don't want DLC. We want you to fix the game. And what do you give us after that? Battlefield Hardline. You say fuck all to Battlefield 4 and give us a new game when some of us aren't even well equipped with Battlefield 4. The problem is the business practices that you're giving us aren't the ones that, we don't like them because it's changing the game in some sort of way. It's that it's a way that it seems like you're trying to sucker more money out of us. That's one thing that the consumer doesn't like. We do not like having our money vacuumed from our pocketbooks because it makes us feel like you're taking us for granted. And I think there's another point here. I'm not sure. Maybe I've went past it. He used an example. He used the Napster example, and it's in this highlighted little text here. If you can see it, I'm gonna circle it. I'm gonna put the article in the description. It goes like this: we just have to embrace it. He says, we as an industry have to embrace change. We can't be like music. We cannot be like music because music said, "Screw you! You're going to buy a CD for $16.99, and we're going to put 14 songs on there, 2 of which you're going to care about. But you're going to buy the entire CD. You're going to buy our CD." Then Sean Fanning writes a line of code or two. I'm sorry, I can't read today. I'm really I'm coming down from something. No, I'm not taking drugs. I've been sick lately. Then he goes on to say Napster happens and the consumers take control. And we've come to the big point of all of this. Gamers are resistant to change because we're trying to take over the gaming business. The consumers are trying to take over things. We can't let that happen. I want to say something real quick. Mr. Moore, EA, Epic, any other game, Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, the consumers are what keeps this train going. This train that's chugging on its last legs, the train that's keep going. The consumers are what keeps this train on the track, and going to its destination. He used the Napster example, and I don't know much about Napster. I'm really sorry. But as I've seen that Napster is kind of like a place where you can go in. It's very I've used it a couple of times, but I don't know much about it. It's very user friendly. You can go in. You can buy the songs that you want. These songs that you want, not the entire album. If you want to, Godspeed. But you can buy the songs that you want. It's very user friendly. They're very acceptable to new people. And overall, it's actually a great experience, even though it's just not my cup of tea. Not that I don't like it, it's just that I have other services that I use. He's trying to say that the consumers don't want change because we want gaming to be the way we want it. I'm going to kind of agree with that. Because we, as consumers, we expect high quality. I'm sorry that we don't agree with your boneheaded decisions to farm money out of us when we don't want excuse me, our money to be farmed out of us. Dead Space 3, for example, had a microtransaction just kind of mechanic to upgrade your weapons. Most people don't want that because it wasn't in the previous Dead Space games, and again, it's just a way to farm money out of gamers. Going back to Battlefield 4 here, a game that to this day they're updating it, they're trying, but it still isn't optimized enough. What do? They push out another game, Battlefield Hardline, and maybe, just maybe, they're going to at least try to optimize Battlefield 4. The problem here, Mr. Moore, and I respect you, is the fact that we don't like your decisions. It's the fact that the decisions you're giving us aren't user-friendly. They're not consumeristic. And, all in all, what I want to say is, I understand what your fear is. Because again, some consumers are assholes. I work in retail now, which is one of the reasons why I haven't been posting videos lately. I've been working. If you truly want to hate human nature, you work in retail because there's some really disgusting people that you don't want to see come back in that store. I work at Walmart, by the way. There are just some disgusting people that you just want that home saying, because the customer is always right, to just go away because these people have just sucked all the fun out of it. Is that to say every consumer is wrong? No. Is that to say every consumer is nice? No. But the problem is that you're trying to target the wrong people. We gamers are not resistant to change. We aren't. We embrace change. Again, MMOs, games that have good patches on it. Like for example, Minecraft. They patch their game almost monthly, almost maybe every day. There's always a new patch for it. Because what? Why? There's something that is game ending. Maybe the servers aren't good. Maybe something's poorly optimized. Again, let me go off on a tangent here. Always on DRM. Some games have it. Some games don't. Some games don't need it. For example, in MMO, when like games like World of Warcraft came around, some people didn't like the always on online internet connection thing. But you know what? We embraced it. Wanna know why? Because their services were good. They gave us things. The $15 subscription. You know, some of us aren't working that good of a job. Some of us aren't getting that good of a pay. And you want to know what the main problem is? We don't want to shell out $15 a month. But you want to know something? They found a way around that. They found a way to work around their schedules. They're finding a way to scrounge up more money. And you know what? Some people, even to this day, are maybe having, you know, that free-to-play model thing. Some people don't like it, but some people embraced it. Want to know why? Because it let people who aren't fortunate enough, just like you and I, to lay down $15 a day and play the game, you know, giving World of Warcraft for an example, to play up to $20, I mean, not $20, I'm sorry, level 20, and then decide when to lay down. League of Legends, a game that's completely free to play. Their services are given to you, excuse me, for free. And if you want to spend money, you can. But guess what? The services are free. Freaking Team Fortress, a game I've been playing the hell out of lately, is a game that's free to play. It's not. They're not trying to say that we're resistant to change. They're not going to make a patch that changes things and say, you have to deal with this or else get out. You know what they're going to say? You can play our game for free. For free. And actually runs really good on this computer. And what did you guys do? SimCity, a game that was always on DRM when it didn't need to be. It was single player game. It should have been a single player game like the other ones. It was plagued with crash issues, server issues, and I can make an entire rant on it. But it's an example of why some of your business practices aren't because we're resistant to change. It's because they're just not good business practices. They're not consumer friendly again. Well, that was me, Grandmaster Circus. Please tell me what you think about this. The article's in below, and it's not the only article out there that has this. It's just the one that I saw, and, you know, just give me your opinion on this. Bye-bye.